Morning, everybody. This is Fago Franklin III with New Stitch Media. Today, I am joined by Dr. China Jude, who is the Vice President of Diversity, Equality, and Inclusion for the Denver Broncos. First and foremost, how are you doing today?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm well, can't complain. Just a very blessed day. So, before
Wonderful.
we get into your journey a little bit, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go
We
ahead.
we have a bit of a delay, but I just wanted to tell you how much I appreciate you inviting me.
Oh, thank you for joining me. It's a pleasure. I love what you're doing, and I want all my viewers to actually hear your story of how you got to where you're at now.
Oh, wow. I'll try.
But first and foremost, can you give my viewers some words of encouragement for today?
Oh, be your authentic self forever.
Oh, short and sweet. I love it. I love it. So, first and foremost, how have you adapted to the pandemic and what things you had to adapt and change in your personal life as well as your business life?
Well, in the personal life, I try to stay as engaged as I possibly can with my colleagues. Now, of course, where I'm working at currently is not where I was working at the height of the pandemic. I was at the University of Wyoming. So I was very fortunate to be in a location where it was a little isolated, very small college town. But I still managed to stay involved and engaged in the community, oversaw some community service projects with our staff. I also made face masks for our student athletes and pursued two executive certificates, one in diversity, inclusion, and HR, and the other in employment law. So I stay very busy professionally. I wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to just self reflect and making sure that I stay engaged in the community the best way that I can. And of course, we actually participated in a couple of community activism events as well and engage our student athletes. Uh, Personally, continue to self reflect and making sure that I stay connected with my family as much as possible and to continue to engage them in things that's happening around the country, which I think is very important for us to continue to talk about it and to continue to strategize on how we can engage others.
Now, you talk about self reflecting. Now, I know we had just a good topic with Simone Biles coming out talking about mental awareness and different things of that nature. How have you been able to keep you personally in check with your mental health?
Well, that's one of the things that I really appreciated that my mother always made sure that I took care of self. Unfortunately, she's no longer with me, but I did not take advantage of myself in my younger years. And then as I am getting more and more involved in a lot of the social justice movements and diversity, equity, inclusion, I know that this could take a toll on you when
Mhm.
you're dealing with different type of constituents. So I always take my annual vacation. I don't take it every week, but I take that hour lunch. I actually schedule lunch for myself and it gives me the opportunity to relax for that 1 hour. And then also, I think it's really important to stay in good faith and to continue to spiritually connect. And there are times that we do not take advantage of our mental health days.
Mhm.
Typically, if you're working in benefit positions, you get the three personal days and the opportunity to just relax. We need to do that a little bit more. We need to make sure that when things are off balance, that we stop and to understand that this world is going to continue with or without us. So, in the case of Simone Biles, we have to respect her decision, and that's where the challenge comes in at. We see physical injuries, but we don't see anything mental, and we have to trust that that individual, whoever that person is, in this case is Simone, that she did what was best for her And she's not just thinking about the current state of her own personal life, she was thinking about her future as well. So I really believe that we need to spend more time respecting each other when we're making those tough decisions.
So, what made you decide to actually apply for the position as VP for this unique department for the Denver Broncos?
Well, I've been in the diversity, equity, inclusion space for a long time, going all the way back to 1990 when I worked for the Anti Defamation League in Chicago, fresh out of college. And so this I've been in this space and incorporating diversity, equity, inclusion well before it was even titled diversity, equity, inclusion. But I've worked in internal operations, been, a volleyball coach, worked for two politicians, worked in parks and recreation and radio and television. But I knew that as we are learning and growing in this particular space, I was really just reevaluating my own personal and professional journey in the world of athletics. So, after some research, this position presented itself, and I was extremely excited because it was a new position. As a matter of fact, of the 32 clubs in the league, there are only 7 individuals who are working in my role on a regular basis, on a full time basis. So it was extremely exciting, and it was 2.5 hours uh, down the road from Wyoming. So I just felt that the Broncos had a strong brand. It was regionally beneficial for me. I knew that I was hitting a glass ceiling in the collegiate space, and after a number of interviews and conversations, I just felt more and more invested in this organization, and I really appreciated that we've already laid the groundwork prior to my arrival. There were diversity, equity, inclusion plans, there were committees formed. It was so much that was already happening, and there wasn't even a full time person here. So I just thought that this was just a great opportunity that I just could not pass up.
So, I really have to ask your opinion about the Black National Anthem. First and foremost, what are your thoughts about it? And do you think it's going to actually have a great impact in the NFL this season?
Well, I mean, the impact is going to vary for each person, but I do believe that it is going to provide an opportunity for the fan base to learn a little bit more. I do believe that diversity, equity, inclusion, and the awareness of all of our different demographics in America, it gives the fan base more education. Impact is going to vary in so many different ways. Not everyone is going to embrace the anthem being played, but we have to start somewhere. We must start somewhere. And so I'm looking forward to learning about our fan base and getting some of that feedback when it's being played.
What does it mean to you to be a representation for other people, for other young, bright reporters or writers or people that's trying to get into the executive field?
What does it feel? Well, I know that at times that individuals who are in high-ranking positions or the first in a different position, there are times that there are pressures. But one of the first questions you ask me is a statement or my position on something inspiring. And when I said, "Be your authentic self forever," that
Hmm.
really does make a significant difference on how we navigate. So I'm going to continue to be my authentic self. And as long as I stay true to myself and my passions, I am really hoping that those who are around me, my immediate community, those nationally, and people in the profession and beyond, that they appreciate seeing my authentic self, and then hopefully that will inspire them to continue to be their authentic self as they're navigating through this world.
Now, I know you keep repeating about being your authentic self. which I love. However, there are some people that want to talk about certain subjects, but the stereotypes of society won't allow them to do that. It seems like African Americans can only be entertainment instead of actually talk about the necessary topics that we need to talk about. What encouraging words can you give some of the youth, and not just the youth, but other people that want to talk about these different topics, and want to use their space to talk about these unique topics on their platforms? What advice can you give them?
Well, I was sitting here thinking about that, and there's some particular strategies that we always really should take into consideration. And I've been in many spaces where I've been the only woman or the only woman of color, or in many cases, the first. And so to be able to talk about some difficult conversations, the strategies are always going to vary.
Mm-hmm.
But no matter what the strategies are, we have to keep in mind that not everyone is going to think like us and embrace all of the information that we would like to present. It's been 400 plus years that we have been talking about a lot of issues when it comes to the systematic institutional racism, the structures that are created, the challenges that we go through with microaggression and other social challenges when we are having conversations with other demographics. But no matter what, planting small seeds and being very strategic in having conversations with individuals has demonstrated that it's been successful for me. I make sure that I meet people where they're at this moment, and I do not expect them to go from 0 to 100 real quick.
Mm-hmm.
So to be able to allow them and welcome them to speak their truth and their perspective, and then to plant some small seeds that they can take with them to reflect. Because many times when we get new information, we have to first receive it,
Mm-hmm.
and then we have to reflect on how that new information is going to affect us individually or affect the community around us. So I would say to everyone who wants to have the opportunity to talk about issues of DEI or social justice issues or anything that deals with race, religion, gender, sexual orientation, social economic levels, anything like that, to be mindful that it takes multiple strategies to tap into someone's psyche,
Mm-hmm.
to embrace it, and for you to be patient, because it's not going to happen overnight. I'm sure that it goes back when we were all taught to learn how to ride a bike,
Mm-hmm.
and we just didn't jump on a bike. Many of us, like me, I had to have training wheels. Skills, had to practice. You fall, you scrape your knee several times, but you have to keep getting back up. Now, yes, unfortunately, it's been many, many centuries
Mm-hmm.
that we have, but um, I am very hopeful. I am very hopeful that we can continue to work together, and slowly but surely that change will come. And but it's unfortunate that it
Mm-hmm.
takes the tragic death of George Floyd and our other black and brown brothers and sisters to die for us to have these type of conversations in a public and open forum.
Now, you just talked about George Floyd. Now we've seen that he actually had a little bit of justice, but we have another young lady in Breonna Teller. Why is there a double standard as far as who get justice and who doesn't, as far as our community is concerned? Because it seems like everybody cared for George Floyd. However, we still have Breonna Teller, and nothing is done about that.
And that is just as painful, to know that justice has not come down on the individuals who are a part of that. It's devastating. Being a black woman myself, it's devastating. Um, I really believe that at times when we see it ourselves, like in the case of George Floyd, we saw it, we all witnessed it. And we have to keep in mind symbolically the world stopped, and via the pandemic, and we all saw it. So we could not say that our eyes were deceiving us. We couldn't say that. We all saw the same thing. Now, can it be interpreted in different ways? Yes, but we all saw it. Unfortunately, Miss Taylor, we didn't see it. We received the reports, we saw on the news, we saw it in so many, it was um, put in the media in so many different ways that I do believe strongly that there are many people who are fighting for justice for Miss Taylor and many others who have passed. And I just really feel that we should not let up. We need to continue, but we need to do it in a peaceful fashion, being very strategic, making sure that we know our laws, making sure that we know who are the influencers and the policymakers, and doing everything in our part to continuously utilize our power of voting and being engaged in our communities to make a change. And that's really important.
So, what do you say to like some of the old time people that have been patient enough? They don't really see any change, and every time you turn on the television, it's another law enforcement, killing somebody or shooting somebody. What advice can you give those individuals about hope or either moving forward and change?
Well, there are so many things that can be done. I talk about a framework. Of course, we always expect the end result,
Mm-hmm.
but we have to continue to chip away and chip away. And so I work off of a framework of awareness, education, processes, policies, and then profits. So there's no one particular strategy or a way to create change in any kind of space. That everyone is in different places, everyone has a different um, strategy to move things forward. And so, for those individuals, as you call them, old timers, I call people who are seasoned veterans continuously working in the community to make it work. We have to just continue. We have to continue educating. We have to continue, putting policies in place, connecting with those change agents, those influencers, exercising our right to vote. We have to have the social economic power. It makes a significant difference. I commend the Atlanta Dream for doing what they did, and they won, a humanitarian award for those efforts in really making a significant change when it comes to the voting. We've done things here for the Broncos and our players getting involved in clemency and really holding our governor accountable and looking at those particular cases. We can all do our part. And yes, like I mentioned, the goal is always the ultimate justice for in holding people accountable. But we need to, in the meantime, we need to still stay engaged in other things.
What does it mean to you to be working for the Denver Broncos? We already see what they do on and off the field, and they have done a phenomenal job as an organization, bringing awareness to Black Lives Matters. Being activists and a voice for us. What does it mean for you to actually work with them?
Wow. I'm still pinching myself. What a blessing. This is a great organization. And I'm not just saying that. It really is a great organization. I did my homework. I talked to a lot of people. This is a strong brand. This is a wonderful company to work with. Um, Very engaged in the community. Also, not just being involved on the field and winning games, but we are doing very good work and keeping the community engaged, providing resources and support from Boys and Girls Club, which we're the only league program, uh, uh, I'm sorry, club team to actually fully fund a Boys and Girls Club. Staff, programming, everything. For us being in community, we have community service projects as staff. I
Mhm.
was at a women's shelter environment where I serve food. I've done deliveries for Habitat for Humanity. I mean, I love that. This is the a great organization where you can be involved and engaged in so many things. Plus, we can win some football games on top of
Yep.
it. This right here, it works for me very well. And to be named the first vice president of diversity, equity, and inclusion for this organization really speaks volumes on the commitment that this organization has when it comes to DEI, and to know that there are only 7 of us out of the 32 teams really shows that we're on the forefront of making some significant change.
And I know just this past weekend you was in Canton. Tell me about that excitement, that feeling to see, Peyton Manning getting honored and recognized, and John Lynch. They're big, huge, momented people that actually helped that organization out in Denver. Tell me about that experience.
Oh wow, I had so much fun, and I took my son. I was trying not to be starstruck. I try not to be, but I tell you what, it just, when you arrive at the stadium, and of course all the fans are there, and all of the NFL greats, and people in the media, and I mean it's just so much that's happening in Canton. And I just felt like that I was in a space of greatness and history and legacy. And it was just so wonderful to celebrate Peyton and John and Steve. When you're having 3 representatives of the Broncos, that's
Mhm.
pretty huge. Although I noticed that the Steelers Nation was out pretty strong.
Yes.
They were strong, but really too. And I had a great time, learned so much about players who haven't had the opportunity to learn about. And it's just nice to know. I do see it is a very small fraternity. And
Mhm.
so it really does give us the opportunity to celebrate great players, great men who have dedicated themselves in this particular profession. And I look forward to going to future Hall of Fame events.
There you go. We got a couple more questions because I know you got to get ready to go in a few minutes. So, what do you think about this season? Do you think Drew Lock is actually going to make a great run at it? Teddy Bridgewater is out there. Like, who's going to get the starting position? Just give me your thoughts. If you can't tell me a little inside information out there, give me your thoughts about the football season for y'all.
Well, I tell you what, we have our practices here. I stick my head outside the door and check out a couple of practices. I can't say this. Um, Extremely positive environment. Everybody is fired up, ready to go. It's going to be pretty interesting to see where we're going to go with the quarterback. The only thing I typically do is try to repeat what Coach Vic says, and what George, our general manager, and they left yesterday to head toward Minnesota, so they're going to be practicing with Minnesota, and then we have our preseason openers. So I'm excited. I think everyone is in the right frame of mind mentally. Now we just have to translate that to what happens on the field, and I'm excited about it. So that's all I'm going to say about that. I'm not the
So
coach.
outside of Denver, what other players or teams you're excited of watching?
Oh wow. You know what? I've been so engulfed, and I'm not just saying this to be politically correct. I've been so engulfed in the Broncos from the moment I started interviewing with them. So I really have my blinders on. I have not had the opportunity to consider or look at any other teams, and I'm sure that my Chicagoland family will probably be next to talk about the Bears. But I have to admit, when you are engulfed in this great organization, this is what you know. But eventually, I'm sure that as we're addressing each opponent each week, I may kind of look and see who's there. And actually, many times it's not always based upon the statistics. Many times is whether I know some of the players on the team from my past colleges and universities,
Hmm.
or some of the human interest stories. Those are the things that I really do get into. I'm going to leave the statistics and all the data analysis up to all of you. Yeah.
So I know you had spoke about this not too long ago. Being at times being the only black woman in certain areas, just like myself, because a lot of African Americans have experienced that at some point in their lives. Were you afraid to speak your truth or talk? Just being the only black person there.
No, I've never been afraid to speak my truth. However, I've been extremely strategic on how I present the information, and that's really important. It's unfortunate that I've been in many environments, even when I worked in the intercollegiate space, that I was advised not to speak up about issues of race or ethnicity or anything, regarding the marginalized communities. I was told that I would not be hired. I was told that I will be typecast. I mean, I was told so many things. And my response to many of them was, well, got to keep in mind, I was in radio and television when I
Hmm.
first started out of college. So I can do it now, or I can go back on a mic and do it. And I'm sure that I would probably be far reaching. So I'm always going to speak my truth, but I'm going to be very strategic with the crowd that I'm speaking to, the information that I'm providing. Sometimes you can dump it all out on the table, the information, and others you just have to plant one seed and, let a person reflect and keep it moving. I think that that's really important. Now, keep in mind, there are so many other angles of me. I mean, I've been in worked in law enforcement. I've worked for politicians and radio. Been a collegiate coach. There are so many layers to me. It's really important for people to understand that just because someone is speaking about one particular topic or one particular subject, don't think that there are other layers. But I am very passionate about it, and I think that it is important that we don't segregate diversity, equity, inclusion. Uh, segregate and put it on the side and think it's an independent thing. Issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is totally different from social justice issues, that should be ingrained in every organization, no matter
Hmm.
what. And that's why when I speak on the framework, people are going in different ways. So, for an example, when it comes to profits, how are we engaging women and ethnic minority businesses as a part of our bid process? Do we have a certain percentage of black and brown people who are, whether they're painters, whether are consultants that we contract, whether they're a part of our carpet cleaning service. These are just arbitrary examples. Whether we contract them on strategic planning or whatever, how do we get how do we get them involved? So it shouldn't be something segregated. We should be incorporating that in our everyday practices, our business practices.
And my last question is, what advice can you give people about overcoming fears, overcoming adversity, and overcoming obstacles in order for them to take the leap of faith?
Yeah, I say continue to stay in prayer. Make sure that you stay patient, and then understand the process. And the processes are going to vary. And then surround yourself with those individuals who support you and to help guide you in knowing how to convey information, to whoever you're going to convey it to. I'm very fortunate that I've navigated through a lot of spaces. If I can navigate through Wyoming for those 3 years and engage people in Wyoming in the process, it's a little bit easier in some of the other liberal areas like Denver is a liberal area. So I would just, utilize those 3 Ps as much as possible.
Amen. Amen. First and foremost, thank you for joining the show. Before I let you leave, where can some of my viewers actually find out your journey and follow you?
Oh my gosh. Well, my son always tell me to Google me. However, he makes sure to tell me that all the time. He said, "Mom, you got to Google yourself. Make sure you stay up to date of yourself and your social media presence." But I'm on Twitter at China Jude. I'm on Facebook at China Jude. On my Instagram at China Jude. That's the beauty about having a unique name. I'm sure you can appreciate that.
Yes.
No one's ever gonna take your name. So
Exactly. And then everybody can just find you just like that.
yeah, exactly. So I
Yes.
definitely drop some positive information. I'm all about positivity and continue to support each other so we can uplift this community and to be able to move forward in a more positive fashion.
Yes, ma'am. Again, thank you for joining me. It's all about uplifting and having a peace of mind and positivity. Everybody, y'all can definitely follow me at Fago Franklin III on Facebook, Super Journalist 87 on Instagram. Y'all can even Google me, as Miss China just stated. Google me in your Google search engine, Fago Franklin III, and all the exclusive interviews with your favorite celebrities, athletes, and sports media personalities is up there. Thank you again for joining me, and definitely have a blessed one.